Good morning, everybody. I'm Kevin Miller, the Chief Exec of LiveCode, and I'm here to talk for a few minutes about a brand new product that we're building for the FileMaker space called LiveCode for FM Native. Some of you in the room will have heard about this already at DevCon, but I know that we've got a lot of new faces here who haven't heard anything about it. So for the next 15 minutes, I'm just going to talk you through what it is and how it works. So why LCFM native? Well, for a very simple reason. 86% of the mobile apps market is for Android devices. And that's a figure that's just heading in that direction continuously and very steadily. Obviously, FileMaker is an amazing tool for building apps very quickly. A lot of you have many years of experience, and you've got large apps with many tables, many layouts. And you've deployed to iOS, but you maybe need to deploy into a mixed environment. So LCFM Native is a tool that lets you do that. So how it works is that you drag and drop your FileMaker application onto LCFM Native, and I'll show you a video with a demo of that in a moment. And it outputs a native app, and then you can deploy that app via the App Store. All of your data stays in FileMaker or in FileMaker Cloud. So you have your FileMaker Go app on iOS, and you have your Android app on Android, and the data stays in the same place. So that means that you can continue to use all of that FileMaker knowledge you have. You don't need to change platform in order to deploy to Android. And you also have access to the whole of the operating system. We're using our own technology, a platform called LiveCode, to compile FileMaker, and LiveCode has access to things like OS libraries and all of the various different device features. So you can extend your FileMaker solution if you need to access something that's specific on these platforms. Android obviously is a lot cheaper if you have large-scale deployments. A decent Android tablet starts at about $50, whereas a decent iPad starts at $329 last time I checked. Obviously, for some environments, the iPad is the right thing, but there are plenty of places. For example, we had a story at DevCon of a construction company, and they were giving these iPads to all of the workers that were driving out in these trucks. And the drivers kept leaving the iPad on the wheel of the truck and then driving off, and that would crush $800 worth of kit. So obviously for them, it's quite appealing to be able to buy $50 or $100 tablets, because that's just the nature of the industry that they're in. So when we're shipping, we will support all of the modern operating systems. So not just Android, you'll also be able to deploy to Linux, as well as deploy native App Store apps to iOS, Mac and Windows as well. And you might want to do that to take advantage of native features on all of these other platforms. We'll have a variety of syncing modes built into the platform. I don't have time just now to go into those in any detail. But we'll be using the data API to give you access to FileMaker, and there'll be a variety of different ways of handling syncing. So the main takeaway is that your app will work really well offline. You won't need to have a connection all of the time. So again, this is a really important thing for user experience these days. You can't guarantee on a mobile device that you have a connection all of the time. So we support the entire set of FileMaker scripting commands. We're building a compiler that takes all of those. So all of the client-side scripts are compiled over to LiveCode, so no need to change any of your script steps. All of your FileMaker server scripts, of course, stay on the server because you're still connecting to FileMaker server, so nothing changes there. We're in beta at the moment. I'll come on to that in a second. But we will cover the whole feature set. And I've already mentioned that you can extend the capabilities. So you'll end up having a single source solution for FileMaker, and then you'll be able to deploy onto all of these different platforms. So we're in beta at the moment. We're currently on beta 2. It's a little bit limited at the moment. It does do a translation. Whatever it can't translate, it will flag up in a report. Beta 3 will be mostly feature complete. We're estimating around about 15th of November for that. And we're estimating shipping for the finished platform at the start, or just before the start of 2019. This is a video that walks through and shows you what this looks like. Hopefully. Oh, it's playing. It's playing for you, but not for me. That's fine. So this is a solution that we had a client in London who has built an app for doing auditing. So it's for checking that cleaners have cleaned a particular site successfully. Has a few different features. So we drag drop the FileMaker solution onto LCFM native. This is the compiler. And then you enter in your username and your password for the solution, because we need to be able to unlock the solution to have access to everything, to pull all of that data out of FileMaker. And then as soon as you run that, it loads up FileMaker. So at the moment, you're now seeing FileMaker coming up, but actually you're not doing anything. LCFM native is now driving FileMaker to pull everything out. So we're using the accessibility framework to click through all of the dialogues and essentially pull every single piece of information from FileMaker out of FileMaker. So the first thing it's going to do just now is save out the DDR report, which is a portion of your FileMaker solution. It misses a lot of key information, but it's a really good starting place. So it will export all of that information. And then it'll go through the UI and start to pull out all of the information about the CSS and the colors and the styles and all of the information that we need to rebuild your FileMaker solution. So it will load up a list of all of the layouts. So this is very similar to deploying to iOS. You choose the layouts that you want. So you may actually just want to choose your iOS layout for Android. And if you select the ones that you want and then choose Add, and then you choose your starting layout, so that's the one that you get to when the app logs in. And then we go away and press Build. And I've shortened the video a little bit here. In reality, you need to go away and grab a cup of coffee, but I've shown you a few seconds of it pulling out the layout part just so as you can see it in action. So there it is, filling in your user ID. It will detect that dialog and remove it, and it goes into edit mode just for the layouts that you selected and starts to drive FileMaker to pull out all of the part information, everything that's basically missing from the DDR. We are hoping that with FileMaker's plans to add an XML output, maybe next year or the year after, we'll be in a position where some of this UI driving is no longer necessary to get the part information. But anyway, this chugs away for a few moments. And as I say, I've shortened the sequence here. So you'll see it deploy the app in a second or two. Just getting all of the height information. The height information for controls is not in the DDR, neither is all of the CSS. So when it's pulled all of that information out, you then can configure the apps. And in the beta we've got at the moment, we've just got Android and Mac. But as I say, we will have all of the other platforms. So put in things like your app identifier. You can set the version number, the icon for the app, all of the things that you'd expect when you're going to build an app. And then choose the various different Android versions. We support right back to 4.1. Always recommend that you use the latest version that you can. It just gives you less testing to have to do. It's easier if you don't have to go all the way back to a really old device. But it depends on where you're deploying, obviously. And you've got the same for Mac, so you can put in the application icon name identifier. And then you build. This is now a remote connection to my Android device. So this is the solution now running on an Android device. And it's exactly the same solution using the mobile layouts, and it's connecting right back to the same FileMaker server database. And that's your app up and running. And you'll see that we've got the same feature set in there in terms of being able to select the various different things. And I think there's a little signature component at the end that I just show you as well. But as I say, we'll support the whole feature set. So all of the things that you get on iOS, barcode scanning, and all the various other parts of it will come through and will work in exactly the same way. So that gives you an idea of what we're building. Terrible handwriting in the signature. Just not practical, really, doing it on a device. But so that is the solution that we're building. I'm going to skip ahead now because I've only got 5 minutes left. There were quite a few features in that demo. I don't really have time just now to run through all of those, but there's loads of things that we had implemented back at Beta 2. As I say, by the time we get to Beta 3, we will be pretty much feature complete in terms of the the FileMaker feature set. So to give you an idea about the pricing, it starts at $499 annually for the compiler, and then your user packs start from $2 per user per month. Depending on volume and usage, we've got different plans for named users versus concurrent users. It does use the FileMaker data API to connect to FileMaker. So when you look at the costs of your FileMaker licensing, the data API is very efficient in terms of licensing if you look at the costs of doing those connections. So it may be that that is a fairly efficient licensing solution for you, even with the cost that we have. And obviously remember that you're taking off the cost of all of those devices, potentially hundreds of dollars per device. We do have concurrent user pricing options available. And also we have per app pricing, offline apps, if you want to do that. And all we're doing is pulling the data from your FileMaker database and putting that into an SQLite database. And we'll just charge you per app for that rather than charging you for per user. So if you want to get a quote, then it's filemaker.livecode.com. And there is a pricing calculator there for you to go and do that. So in summary, the tool will allow you to use your existing FileMaker solutions and knowledge to create amazing native applications. You'll be able to deploy to all platforms, including Android, which is 86% of the mobile market. So Ian is just standing at the back there. So Ian and I are here until just after lunch. So if you want to come and ask us any questions, we would be more than happy to talk to you. We're just here for the next hour or so, so please do come and chat if you've got any questions. Okay, thank you very much.